Hello everyone, welcome to today's live class of literary devices and literary movements. The name of my website is Learning Literature with Purba, www.learningliteratureWithPurba.com, and the podcast name is also Learning Literature with Purba. You can find it on Spotify. Alright, so today we are going to talk about literary movements and literary devices. And both these things are very important, not only for literature students, but also for writers, people who really appreciate reading literature, reading poems. So this is something that anybody who is even remotely interested in literature should have some knowledge about literary movements and literary devices. Literary movements and literary devices are what makes literature truly beautiful. So I would like to know where you're joining from and which exam or goal are you preparing for, and also your name. So my goal is simple: to make literature easy, beautiful, and convenient. All right. Welcome all of you who have joined. All right, UPSC. Very good. So what are literary movements and why literary movements they matter? I mean, why do we need to know about literary movements? It is not just for memorizing facts. It is not for the purpose of memorizing or rote learning. It is to understand the writers, to understand the society during that time, and to understand the literary works. Because what happens, every time the society changes, writers react, and a literary movement is born. For example, think of the shift from neoclassicism to romanticism. Neoclassicism, in the neoclassical age, in the age of enlightenment, their writers focus very much on practicality, on logic. Why? Because superstition was very much there. So these writers, they focused on practicality, on logical reasoning, on scientific revolution, and we have the neoclassicism movement. But then excessive practicality resulted in industrial revolution, resulted in a lot of materialism in people. So therefore, the next set of writers in the next age, they thought that no, this is something that needs to be changed. We again need to go back to emotions. We again need to go back to nature. We again need to first connect with the humanity. So therefore, the next literary movement is born, that is Romanticism. So society changed from age of enlightenment to romantic age, and as a result, writers reacted and a new movement is born. So that is the beauty of literary movements. Literary movements are often a reaction to the changes in society. So therefore, it is very important to understand that literary movements tell us a lot about the society that is changing. Now in romantic age, what happened? People focused a lot on imagination, supernatural events. They romanticized life quite a lot. So therefore, in the Victorian age, we have a movement that is completely opposed to romanticism. And that movement is called realism. So realism is the predominant movement of the Victorian age. And what does realism say? That we depict life as it is. We are not trying to show a rosy world. We are not trying to romanticize things. We are not going to show larger than life characters, but we are going to talk about real people, their real struggles, the real struggles in society. We are going to talk about that because there is also a charm in talking about common everyday people and common everyday life situations. So that is why in the Victorian age we have the movement realism, pioneered by George Eliot, who wrote Middlemarch, obviously Charles Dickens, who wrote David Copperfield, Oliver Twist. So these novels, they just give us a raw painting of how society was during the Victorian age, the evils of child labor. All these things we can find just by looking at the movement realism. So realism is a dominant movement of the Victorian age. Then in the next age, that is modern age, we have modernism. So modernism is again very, very different from realism. So modernism showed the fragmented nature of society because the First World War has happened. So therefore society was quite fragmented. Therefore we have fragmented nature, fragmented way of writing. Like in T.S. Eliot's Wasteland, we have so many voices. It's like the entire poem is in form of fragments. So many characters, so many voices, they are just coalescing into each other. So that is what we can find in modernism, fragmented society, stream of consciousness style writing, because again Sigmund Freud played a major role because he talked about the subconscious, and that played a very, very major role in the psyche of the modern writers. So therefore they also showed that the working of the subconscious mind in their works. So in T.S. Eliot's The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, in Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse, in James Joyce's The Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, we can find stream of consciousness, which is a narrative style that was predominant in the modern age. It is a component basically of modernism. Now, next, we have postmodernism. Now, again, postmodernism is diametrically opposite to modernism because postmodernism says that there is no one single truth. There are multiple truths. So, as many people, there can be as many truths. As many readers, there can be as many interpretations to a particular literary work. So that is postmodernism, very, very different from modernism. Modernism tries to reform the society through writing. Postmodernism believes in accepting life as it is. So postmodernism is quite similar to realism in some form or the other. So therefore, literary movements really, really help us in understanding how the society is changing, how writers are reacting to the changes in society, and how we can see that reaction in the works of writers. So that is what we can see through the literary movements. All right. So among all the literary movements that I explained, so I started from neoclassicism, then romanticism, then realism, then modernism, postmodernism. Which one did you find most interesting? Before realism came romanticism. Because I have not read it, like I have not memorized it. It is a way basically of understanding literature. That is why I can talk without referring to a script right now. So therefore, literary movements are very, very important. Now, there are many literary movements. Each age has plenty of literary movements. Right now, just I gave very, very, very basics, the predominant movement of each age I was trying to say. Now, what is the importance of literary devices? Literary devices are basically the ornaments of writers. They are basically ornaments that writers have. And writers use them to decorate their writing, to beautify their writing. So that is the power of literary devices. They are ornaments of writers. And whenever we read a poem or a play or a novel, when we find the literary devices, we also enjoy reading it. Because then the speech becomes much more beautiful with the use of literary devices. For example, think of the literary device such as irony. What is irony? When you expect something and the opposite happens, right? That is irony. Now in literature, you can find three types of irony. So we have verbal irony, we have situational irony, and my favorite is dramatic irony. So verbal irony is like using speech to manipulate. For example, think in Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar, Mark Antony, in his speech, tried to manipulate the people of Rome into believing that Brutus is actually not an honorable man. So his famous speech, but Brutus is an honorable man, but Brutus is an honorable man, is actually done to convince people of Rome that no, he's not an honorable man and he's not justified in killing Caesar. So that is verbal irony. Situational irony is what you expect and the opposite happens. So the gift of Maggie, we can see that a beautiful husband-wife couple, they want to gift each other in Christmas beautiful things. So the husband buys comb for his wife's hair, beautiful hair, but the wife, she has to sell her hair so that she can buy a present for her husband. So basically in situational irony, what we expect, the opposite happens. And in dramatic irony, which is my most favorite form of irony, because in dramatic irony, the audience is given the upper hand. So what happens in dramatic irony? The audience knows more than the character. So the audience knows what is going to happen, but the characters do not know that. For example, in Othello, the audience is well aware that Iago is plotting and planning and conspiring. But Othello, Desdemona, they are completely oblivious of it. They don't know it. So that is the beauty of dramatic irony, where the audience is given that kind of power. Audience knows more than the audience. So that is, audience knows more than the characters, and that really makes reading very interesting. So irony is a great literary device which makes any play or novel or poem so much more interesting. Then in poetry, we have metaphor, obviously, but I'm going to talk about a special type of metaphor, that is conceit. Now, conceit was especially used by the metaphysical poets. For example, John Donne used conceit in his poems. So in one of his poems, Valediction, A Forbidden Morning, he compares two long-distance lovers separated by distance with two legs of the compass. So very unlike objects are compared. Two very heterogeneous objects are compared together. So that is conceit, very much used by metaphysical poets. But we can also think about metaphors that we can find very commonly. So conceit is basically a form of metaphor only. So metaphor, what metaphor does, it compares two unlike objects and it is a direct comparison. In simile, we have like or as. Time is like a river, that is simile. Metaphor is time is a river. So that is the difference between simile and metaphor. We can find both simile and metaphor in abundance in poetry. And personification, another amazing literary device where non-living things are given human-like qualities. So how beautiful. So the daffodils are dancing. So flowers are given human-like quality. So personification also makes a work very beautiful. It creates that human connect. The sun is smiling at me. How beautiful. Given the sun is given a human-like quality. So personification is another literary device which really makes a work very beautiful. Alliteration. Now alliteration is more associated with the sense of sound because alliteration is the repetition of the same consonant sound. She sells seashells at the seashore. So the S consonant is repeated. And what does it do? It creates a musical effect. So in poetry, we are not using any instrument, but with the help of literary devices like alliteration, assonance, onomatopoeia, we create our own musical rhythm. We create our own musical sense. So that is the beauty of poetry. So alliteration is that literary device that makes us feel that musical sense in poetry. All right. So we were talking about, we've already discussed more than 5 literary movements, and we were also discussing literary devices. So as you can see that both literary movements and literary devices are so much important in beautifying literature. Literary movements helps us understand that why this movement developed. How did society change for this movement to occur? For example, think of theater of the absurd in the postmodern age. So theater of the absurd is associated with existentialism. So these two movements are related to each other. So what does existentialism says? Existentialism says that we human beings are thrown to the world without wanting to be born, and one day we will die without asking to die. So basically human lives have no meaning. It is endless suffering. And it is up to us now to give meaning to our world. So that is what existentialism says. And from existentialism, we have another movement, that is the theater of the absurd. So theater of the absurd says that human life is full of absurdity. We are doing the same tasks again and again, like the myth of Sisyphus, where Sisyphus, a character from Greek mythology, he's punished to carry a boulder up the hill. Then the boulder will fall down and he will again carry it up the hill. So he will do the same task again and again. So human life is also like that. Every day we are basically more or less doing the same thing again and again. Even when we are chasing a goal, one goal is achieved, we are again working towards the next goal. So that is how absurd human life is. So that is what gave rise to the movement called the theater of the absurd. And the pioneer of that movement is Samuel Beckett, who wrote Waiting for Godot, and Harold Pinter, who wrote The Homecoming, The Birthday Party. So therefore, it is very, very important to understand literary movements and literary device in order to excel in literature, also in order to excel as a writer, and also in order to enjoy reading literature. So I'm conducting a literary movements and literary devices online live course, which is starting 15 December and it will continue till 26 December. There are a total 7 online live classes there, starting from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And classes will conduct on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. There will be total 7 live sessions. So we will cover 50 important literary movements and 50 important literary devices. And we will look at the movements in a chronological order. Because only when we look at the movements in a chronological order, you will be able to understand literature in its depth. So not haphazardly we will look at the movements, but we will start directly from the age of Chaucer. So directly from the 14th century we will start and we will move till the postmodern age. And also we will look at 50 important literary devices. After each session, we will discuss 10 to 15 MCQs so that you understand from where questions come generally in competitive exams. And you will also get the recordings of the sessions. So you will also be able to replay the videos later. And obviously because these are live sessions, so you can directly do doubt solving done in the classes itself. Now I'm offering a special promo code DEC20. You can use the promo code during checkout to get 20% discount. Now the link for registering for the course is added in the description. So in the description of the live, if you just go to the description section, you can find the link given. So you can just click on the link and you can register and you can use the promo code for the discount. Now I'm also giving a freebie for students who will register for the course by tomorrow. That is 11th December. So we are going to give you an e-booklet comprising 500 MCQs on literary criticism and literary theory. So it is a new product on our academy. So you will get the e-booklet absolutely for free. That comprises 500 MCQs on literary criticism and literary theory, which is perfect for your revision. So if you register for the course by tomorrow, then you will get this freebie in your email ID. So that's all I wanted to say. I really want all of you to go check out the course, check out the syllabus, and if it resonates with you, then do register. Because I really want you to have an in-depth knowledge of all the literary movements in a chronological order. And this course is not just for literature students and NET aspirants and UPSC aspirants, but also for enthusiastic readers, literature enthusiasts, and for aspiring writers. All right. So any questions you have, you can ask. I'll take a few questions. You can find the link in the description section. So in the description section of this live, you can find it. Or you can also DM me on my Instagram account. You can just write literary movements and I will send you all the details. You can find the link to register in the description section of the live. So as soon as the live will get over and it will get loaded, just click on the description section and you will find the link. Or you can also DM me directly on my Instagram account. Just write literary movements. My Insta ID is Learning Literature with Purba, at the rate Learning Literature with Purba. Recommend some books for reading. So are you talking about, start with some classics. You know, like this is December, so I think Gothic novels will be great. Maybe start with reading Frankenstein. It is always a good idea to read some classics and then read some, you know, contemporary books. So you can choose a Pulitzer Prize winning book or a Booker Prize winning book. Like I've been reading Heart Lamp, so you can check it out, which won the Booker Prize. Hello, somebody from South Korea joined. Hello, thank you for joining. All right, so once again, let me just wind it up. So you can register for the Literary Movements and Literary Devices course starting from 15 December. You can find the registration link in the description of the live. So once the live gets loaded, you can find the link in the description section. Alternatively, you can DM me on Instagram. Just type Literary Movements. I'll send you all the details. Use promo code DEC20 during checkout to avail 20% discount. And if you register by tomorrow, you will get a free 500 MCQs e-booklet comprising 500 MCQs on literary criticism and literary theory. All right. Thank you so much everyone for joining the live. I really had a good time discussing literary movements and literary devices with you and the importance of literary movements and literary devices. So thank you so much. I'll see you soon again in the next live. Have a great day. God bless.